Greetings to all of you on a Thursday afternoon. Special greetings to all of you at Butler Church, and of course, especially to those of you of Faith Community. But any of you from outside Butler who are watching this, why, welcome to you as well. This is the second week of our confinement in our homes, what is being called shelter in place. And it looks like this sheltering in place may end up being a lot longer than we thought it would be originally. Our plans at Butler Church are still, as of now, to have services again on Easter Sunday, April 12th, but it's looking more and more like that deadline will pass and we still will not be back together. So the time may be longer than I thought it was going to be. Personally, I'm still hoping for Easter because I'd love for us to be together to celebrate the greatest day of the year for Christians, but I'm also consoling myself or reconciling myself to the fact that this may not happen. The greatest concern, though, is not whether or not we have services at Butler. The greatest concern is whether any of you or any of us become ill from this virus. I'm praying that it doesn't touch any of us. That would be the best outcome. And so we have to keep up our prayers for each other so that we invite God to do his best work in caring for the people of Jesus' family. I've been reading in the book of Hebrews this week, and one of the phrases that sticks out in my head from the early chapters of the book of Hebrews is this phrase, enter God's rest. Now, rest to me speaks of trust and hope and security, and even peace and perhaps even joy. So it seems like a good word for right now. In fact, maybe one of the best words we can have is to think of rest. Now, of course, we're going to take all the precautions that the medical experts are telling us we need to take, washing our hands and keeping a social distance and disinfecting surfaces and all of those sorts of things, keeping ourselves isolated. But we also are all aware we cannot control the future. And therefore, it's possible that this virus will come in amongst us. So there are two possible responses, it seems to me, that we can have. One is to panic and to lose sleep, to live in fear, maybe even to become depressed. That's one possibility to respond to something unknown and unseen and something that attacks us without us even being aware that it's there. The second possibility, it seems to me, is to rest in the care of the Lord Jesus Christ, to trust him to take care of us no matter what happens and how things go. I was remembering the men who were in the boat with Jesus when the storm came up. They panicked. They screamed and yelled at Jesus that they were going to drown. And Jesus said to them, "Why don't you have faith? Why don't you trust?" Jesus himself was resting in the boat, and he would have had them rest along with him. Now, I want to make sure you understand that I'm not naive here. I recognize there's no guarantee that by trusting in God, you and I won't get sick, or even that we will make it through this virus. But resting gives us peace. The churning settles down. We can say to God, and mean it, "Not my will, but yours be done." Perhaps one of the best statements about rest comes from Jesus himself in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11 and verse 28. This is where Jesus says, "Come unto me, all you who labor and are burdened down, and I will give you rest." I expect we're carrying a few burdens right now that we weren't carrying a week or 2 or 3 or 4 ago. Burdens for ourselves and our own health, and burdens for our family and for our friends and for people in our church and for people that we care about and even for our communities that we're a part of. We're carrying burdens. We don't want bad things to happen. Not to anybody. Not to you, not to me, not to anybody else. We all want to live. All of us do. I do. We're not quite ready for this virus to be the end of us. And Jesus says, when you're burdened, when you're weighed down with concern, I will give you rest. His next words in the verse following are even stronger. He says, you will find rest for your soul. Trust and confidence gives peace. It gives hope and even perhaps joy. The prodigal son, the story Jesus tells, when he went home, he was at the end of his rope. He had nowhere to turn. He had no resources of his own. There was nothing on which he could depend. So he went home to his father, planning to become a slave in his father's household. But what he didn't know was that his father was waiting for him, and when his father saw him, he ran down the path to greet his lost son, and the father gave his son the best of everything he had. That's hope. That's what happens when we turn to God. So my word today for you is rest. Turn to God anew. Give your burden, your heavy thoughts, your fears to Him, and receive His rest and embrace it. And I assure you that all of us on the staff of Butler, all the pastors and all the staff are praying for you. We're praying for each one of you, and we remain available, though we may not be able to see you in your home or your place of residence. We do want to be available, and please feel free to contact us if you have a need. There is a light at the end of this tunnel. We don't know for sure how long the tunnel is, but we will worship together again. So rest. Rest in the Lord Jesus Christ, my friends. Trust, hope, joy, and peace. And God willing, I'll share some more thoughts with you next week.